It's in the game.
A battle of the Premier League's biggest spenders in the 2025-6 pre-season. It is Arsenal versus Newcastle United, and whereas it might not tell a story who win the title yet, it could set a precedent. Well, it is far too early to predict whether this will decide the station of the title or not, but it certainly could set a precedent for the rest of the season. This one has a big fight feel nice and early. Newcastle United taking on Arsenal this afternoon from James's Park, a game that could really go either way, considering Arsenal going for the title this season more or less with their newest signings, namely Gyökeres and Eze. I don't think Eze even made the team today though, he might be injured. But Newcastle also surprised, but also very inconsistent, despite coming off a 5-0 win against Este in the Carabao Cup. I think we all expected that, to be honest. So here we are then, the first big fight at the top of the table then. Arsenal to increase their level lead as they're ahead on goal difference at the moment, ahead of Chelsea. Newcastle to kind of maybe close the gap a little bit. I think they're only a point behind. And as we said, it won't decide the title by a long shot, but it could start to set maybe a precedent. So, taking a look at Newcastle's lineup today, a lot of talk about it. The Nick Pope's in goal. It's Burn and Schär in the centre of defence today that we'll be keeping a particular eye on, considering Arsenal are quite the corner kick specialists, and that's been one of Newcastle's weaknesses this year. And taking a look at that, you can instantly tell that to be the case. David Raya is going to be almost impossible to beat on his day. Saliba and Gabriel both make the team in the centre of defence. As we said, no Mbetre Eze, in fact, at all. So I'm going to assume he's injured. Hincapié, who is the lone signing from Bayer Leverkusen, is an instant inclusion into Arteta's squad. An interesting inclusion into the squad, but only on the bench today. Of course, with Gabriel and Saliba fully fit, you're going to really play no one else. I really like these new Arsenal kits. This is probably one of my favourite ones of theirs. I'm not speaking really as an Arsenal fan, just really a authentic kit lover, quite frankly. And this is actually one I particularly like. I think colour-wise, it's probably because it's blue mostly, and that's my favourite colours. I think that probably has more to do with it than anything else. Trossard already picking up a ball from Nick Pope as the goalkeepers continue to struggle keeping possession for their team. And we're talking about Newcastle United here. Pope and Trafford have both struggled to really keep the ball for their team, and really struggle to keep possession. They need to be a lot more accurate, like there, that Pope was. Calvori is actually in the starting lineup today. It's Marino in the centre of the park. Of course, the obvious inclusion of Bukayo Saka. A start, surprisingly, for Leandro Trossard. As we said, Eze didn't even make the bench. So I'm going to assume he is injured, because we are using the latest squad file in this save this season, as Saliba does Saliba things. Howe and Saka is going to be quite the interesting matchup today. Two men filled to the brim with pace and agility. So it's going to be very interesting to see how that works out. But because Bukayo Saka, as we've said before, a bit of an inside winger kind of player. And that's been the case for the majority of Newcastle United's goals this year, with Elanga and Gordon in particular. So it'll be interesting to see how two very familiar teams, with very familiar styles in terms of the players, will compete today. Gyökeres probably going to almost surely banging a goal if he gets a chance. And already here's Gordon. So, of course, the sell of Urian Timber will be felt at Arsenal. Whether it will have the biggest impact, we do not know. And Lewis Hall, at one point on deadline day, seemed Arsenal bound when it was reported that Arsenal may have broken the release clause in Hall's contract. Eddie Howe and the board pretty much reacted immediately and pretty much shut it down, even though I don't think you're really supposed to do that. So maybe there was maybe the David De Gea to Real Madrid paperwork fax problem that was reported a decade ago. Oh, that's well taken by Nick Valderrama, to be fair, but Saliba instantly there. So there are some other paperwork or personal terms that couldn't be agreed, regardless of whether Arsenal were to approach him or not. We'll never know. And, well, it would have really strengthened Arsenal to already the degrees they have. They already are immensely strengthened with Gyökeres and Eze, and even maybe Kepa and Nketiah as well. Nketiah has been doing so well that Arsenal could, maybe next season, go in for him fully, because it's only a loan from Bayer Leverkusen at the moment. Like we said, with Saliba and Gabriel on the pitch and fully fit, you're not really going to play anyone else. And of course, Saliba has recently signed a new contract with the club. And I think also David Raya has been given, well, not a new contract with any time, because I think he's got like a 4-year contract already under his belt. But his phenomenal performances over the course of the last couple of seasons have supposedly earned him a pay rise, if you believe the papers. So, two kind of nailings down for Arsenal's future. The only question is, well, the two questions are, as Gyökeres gets a shot saved by Pope, the two questions are, will they obviously take the league title this time around, as it's coming agonisingly close in 2 of the last 3 seasons, as Gordon goes down and the tackle from Saliba. That might be a booking later, but meanwhile, Gordon tries to whip it in. I think it came off the arm of Guimaraes, to be fair. But advantage has been gained and Arsenal play on. And if they don't win the league, what does that mean for Mikel Arteta? Now, in my opinion, I would stick regardless, but the thing is now it's different, because Arteta has been given a lot of backing in this window. So if Arsenal don't win at least a trophy, it will start to raise some questions, and maybe some legitimate ones at this point. But obviously, I have maybe a small amount of bias towards Arsenal for the misses, but I think even without that, I would, like I said at the start of the season, I'd probably give the nod to Arsenal, quite honestly. I really think they have the squad to do it. I think it would just be a question of injury rather than anything else. And Martin Odegaard, of course, went off at the beginning of the season with an arm injury. I think he even came off in the game against Leeds as well. I think we witnessed when we were there at the Emirates to have their win against Leeds United. And this was the tackle that Saliba has got booked for. So Newcastle United will be absolutely wary of Arsenal's threat from set-piece situations, as Chelsea and Brentford is an interesting one here, because Chelsea are part of a chasing pack. I think they're level with Arsenal on points, with Arsenal ahead by goal difference. That is a telling scoreline. Brighton have actually taken the lead then with that one. So that lessens the goal difference by 1, and if Arsenal can get some form of result here, then that would certainly help. Here's Declan Rice, here's Odegaard. They've really had the last 5 minutes, Arsenal, you'd say. And with Fabian Schär and Botman in the centre of the park today, that should lessen the corner headaches a bit. We know how powerful Gabriel in particular is, and maybe Saliba as well, actually, when it comes to corners and set pieces and headers in the air. Gnarly trying to dance through the Arsenal defence, quite frankly. He had Mourinho beaten there. So Gyökeres Eze, Zubimendi, Nkapie, Kepa, and Madueke. So many new signings through the door for Arsenal. It's been one of their most productive transfer windows in quite some time. It's almost a completely new squad to a degree. And with that back, oh my goodness me. We have another goal at Stamford Bridge already. Chelsea have immediately responded, and guess who? Only Alejandro Garnacho has scored for them. So, wow. Well, he's making a statement then. Obviously coming over from Manchester United. One of the many players that have left the sinking ship at Old Trafford. Marcus Rashford only on loan. Garnacho to Chelsea. Xerxes to Newcastle United. And Hujlin on loan to Napoli, which McTominay went permanently last season. It's all kind of falling apart for the once great football institution that is Manchester United, currently sitting in 18th place on 1 point over the course of the season so far. And it doesn't seem to be getting any better. I think stick or twist with Almiron will certainly be a question, but who's going to want to come and try and sort out this mess? Because they are in a mess of epic proportions. Offside. Oh, and he could have easily gone down under the tackle from Botman there, but chose not to. So credit him for that. Oh, Arsenal with this midway point of the first half. But here comes Alanga. He's gone. He's left Gabriel Saliba for dust already. And the last line of defence is the most valuable one when it's for Arsenal. Once again, it's a decent save by David Raya. So Ben White gets the nod on the right back position today. He will probably be the right back for the future. Now with Timber moved on. From Odegaard to Trossard. And now Odegaard. And Odegaard will shoot. I think it came off Botman. So I think it's going to be a corner. Well, we said PSG was Eddie Howe's toughest test. I think that's for the whole of the season. But definitely in the Premier League, this is the toughest one for Newcastle so far. A draw here would definitely suffice for both teams. Well, of course, Arsenal are coming to the most intimidating place in terms of passionate fan base. That's for sure. But Mikel Arteta and his current squad have proved their things over the last couple of seasons is that they definitely have the mettle to deal with any situation. The Emirates Stadium has been a bit of a fortress. Myself and the missus are sitting on 7 unbeaten home attendances that Arsenal have drawn or won so far. Here comes Alanga. He's going to pick out Watamade. Oh, it's a splendid save by David Raya. An absolutely splendid shot by Watamade as well. But yes, in the 7 games myself and the missus have attended so far, Arsenal have lost none of them. So I'd love to say we're quite a lucky charm in that regard. I guess we'll know more when we go in October. Gabriel cuts that one out. So I'm hoping that continues when we get there. Oh, that's a good tackle there. Gyökeres was pretty much on his own, somewhat isolated, to be honest. Beautiful play by Newcastle United here. Now they're getting into the game. Jordan forces a save out of Raya. Another save. And now Newcastle are starting to grow in this game a bit. Arsenal looking a bit restless a little bit here. Joelinton. He wins right Ben White, but not for long. And we've got 1 minute of added on time. It's gone by like a blur, to be completely honest. Now Elanga. And the Bukayo Saka kind of inside forward cut-in roll. Calvori, he's hit that with his arm. And that should be a free kick. He hurriedly clears that away. And that's the end of the first half. I would say Arsenal have probably been the slightly better team. Newcastle was starting to get into it a little bit later into the half. But right now, it's been a tail at the top. And unfortunately for both sides' championship aspirations, this has produced 0 goals so far. Welcome back to St James's Park. In my opinion, one of the best stadiums in the country. One with the most passionate and devoted fan bases in the Premier League. unfortunately, all we haven't had in this game is a goal. It's Newcastle United and Arsenal. It's a battle at the top of the table, more or less. Arsenal to extend their lead, which is interesting because, well, of course, we are also having updates from the game at Stamford Bridge between Chelsea and Brighton. Last we heard from there it was 1-1, and Alejandro Garnacho had levelled the scoreline after Brighton had took the lead. So, as far as the top two will be concerned, because I do believe it is Arsenal and Chelsea as of now, it would be as you were. Trickery there by Moreno. Been a very relatively even first half. I would say Arsenal had the slightly better one. But Newcastle were coming to the game late on. But splendid saves from David Raya, as you would expect. Kept Newcastle out for a change. Newcastle have been the free scorers in the last, or the first opening 7 or 8 games of the season. Scored in every single one so far. And next for Arsenal on the agenda immediately, and for both teams in fact, will be the Champions League. Arsenal have Inter Milan coming up next. Newcastle United have PSV, which will certainly be an interesting one. It's probably a somewhat lesser fixture, as Nick Pope says that. It's probably a lesser fixture than the opening one they had against PSG. But don't forget, they blew them out of the stadium. So they'll feel they can take on anyone at that point. There's Moreno. Trossard. And Livramento gets the ball. And Pope puts it clear. And like we said, they've been very loose and inefficient with the ball at times, Newcastle United. It has been their undoing in the past. Rice. Here's Moreno. Here is Gyökeres. And Fabian Schär says no. Beautiful pass. Livramento and Elanga in linking up well. So some of the link-up play from Newcastle players in particular has been stunning. Elanga has left everyone else for pace, including Saliba and Gabriel. And Saliba is back there in the box to head that one away, just as they say it, because of the commentators perhaps. Here's Morales. Tonali. Joined breaking Arsenal down. Look at this. Beautiful passing, but once again, Saliba and Gabriel are the rock-solid wall, and is the Arsenal defence. Coming forward, they've not really had a lot of chances. Odegaard dispossessed by Jolinton. Oh, vital goal at Stamford Bridge. Brighton have taken back the lead then. And now, Arsenal would go a point clear if the results stay like this. Alvori. Nice. Gyökeres. And saved by Nick Pope. And you feel a goal is coming, and here it comes, the first corner of the match. Declan Rice standing over the ball, and Newcastle's hearts will sink in a few short moments if it goes their way here. Here's Moreno, pulled it back to Odegaard, it's off the line by Tonali. Just. And Odegaard, that was some strike, give him credit for that. And here comes Saka. And he's dispossessed by Lewis. Oh, that's greatly done. Oh, Saka, you almost got it back. And, well, I'm sure Newcastle fans had their hearts in their mouths for a moment. But the shot from Odegaard was cleared by Tonali. I'm not really sure how much he really knew about it. But he will certainly take that piece of defence. But Arsenal are just all over the ball at this point. Newcastle just can't seem to break out. And when they do, they can't seem to make the most of it when they actually do that. Arsenal spent most of their time in the attacking half. Nice to avoid Amade. Amade's picked out Howe instead. And Gordon has got to the ball. Can White keep it in? No, he can't. And Moreno is actually going to be coming off for Zubimendi, someone that Arsenal fans have fallen in love with due to his endless running. Much like Javi Guerra on the Newcastle side, the guy doesn't stop moving, covers every blade of grass, and his work ethic is insanely high, and it's been very much loved by the Arsenal fans, including myself, even though I'm not an Arsenal fan in hindsight. I would say I've been impressed with him as a neutral, which is very much the same scenario here with Javi Guerra and Newcastle. They're very similar in how they've covered every blade of grass. Elonga, absolutely beautiful stuff. Morales, and this is probably going to be the best patch of play that Newcastle have had all game. Saliba heads it out again, because of course he does. The only thing I would say is that Arsenal do seem very isolated when they go forward. They have to wait a while for some support to happen. Gyökeres seems pretty isolated up there. Darlington. And Newcastle setting up some substitutions. I think I've realised something over the last few games. Lewis Miley is Miley's name, but I think I've been calling him Lucas. I think I've been calling him the wrong name. So I apologise to Lewis Miley for the wrong surname there. But he will be coming on in a few short moments. Morales. We should have made a bit more of that, to be honest. Also on the docket, I think it's Jointon who's making way for Riley. And Joshua Zirkzee is coming on for Baltimore. There's a lot of good trust being put on Joshua Zirkzee from Eddie Howe. And he is really repaying in kind, to be fair. But I would have thought Valdemade would probably have stayed on the pitch. Jacob Ramsey has come on as well. He got fouled and then got straight back up and back on the ball. Saliba, who was booked in the first half, but he's been very well behaved since. Continue on the guard. Ben White. By Lewis Hall. Well, not taken out by Lewis Hall, but immediately he got the ball, but White got it back. And now it's Odegaard. Nice. The thing is, Newcastle don't play poorly defensively. They actually do very well defensively. They have really struggled with aerial balls and set pieces in particular. It's a strange thing as to why, because like we said, they don't really play poor defensively. I definitely get the feeling that Gyökeres has been a bit isolated here, because Arsenal seem to be picking it around the middle and not really going anywhere with it afterwards. Although, having said that, here comes Odegaard, and it's saved by Nick Poe, but he's offside anyway. I think. Oh, Ben White's getting booked. I'm not sure what for. I'm trying to remember. Let's look at this. Oh, is that Chako on Ramsey? I think I remember seeing that, yes. That's a right booking there. So, was he offside, or did the referee give a corner? It's a corner, actually. Saka takes it. Maybe in towards Zubimendi of all people, but Fabian Schär got there first. Now Calvori. And the Guardian has been all Arsenal this game. We just haven't got everything but a goal at the moment. Oh, Tonali. That's not the best back pass. Pope has to clear it, and he did quite hurriedly. And here come Arsenal again. It's been kind of that wasteful stretches of possession that Newcastle have been doing. Trossard beats his man. Back to Zubimendi. It's almost like Arsenal are playing for a draw. Well, probably not. Declan Rice. But there's been no front tooth from Arsenal, really. And passed it really around the edge of the box a lot. As Madueke comes on for Bukayo Saka. There'll be a tactical switch there by Mikel Arteta, as Arsenal do have Inter Milan to contend with in the Champions League midweek. And that's part of the reason why Joelinton went off as well for Newcastle United. Livramento. And towards Zirkzee, but Gabriel was there again. And once again, Arsenal's defensive wall There's going to be a reason they're going to get some result out of this. Okay. Trossard can whip it in. They can probably make a chance out of this. Livramento has forced a corner. I wouldn't celebrate, lads. You're in your weakness now. Gabriel and Saliba, we know how good they are in the air. Saliba is actually down there, as is Gabriel. The ball is put in towards Zubamendi of all people. It's a goal. It's another conceded goal for Newcastle over a corner, but it's the most unlikely header from Zubamendi. An Arsenal lead. Well, that was perfectly done. The corner curse strikes again, and another wait for a long there. Well, it came to an end, but it's still waiting in the Premier League. Wait for a clean sheet for either Newcastle keeper. But this is very well done. Zubamendi of all people. Who'd have thought that? It's a great header, but once again the defending is somewhat poor. I mean, what are Schär and Bondman doing? I'm not entirely sure. I think they were marking Gabriel and Saliba, to be quite honest. In which case, that's fair enough, but no one noticed Zubamendi coming from nowhere. And, well, that could be the only goal they score, but it's going to be vital. And Odegaard now makes way. Not sure who for, can't really see it. This point of view camera, which is kind of pointless. We'll know it when the notification comes up on the screen. If we even get that, which we don't. I think it's Lewis Skelly. Let's come on. There we go. Yeah, it was Lewis Skelly. Well, 2 minutes plus added time to go, and I don't think Newcastle don't look like scoring, and Arsenal haven't looked like scoring for the most part today, but they'll take the one goal. To Ramsey. Here's Smiley. Oh, here come Newcastle. And Gabriel is there again. David Raya, I think, for the last couple of seasons has held the Golden Glove Award. And there's another reason why Arsenal's defence is so formidable. By Saliba again. Newcastle really don't look like scoring in this one. Oh, and quickly out to Gyökeres. Oh. Well, it's just not his day. Gyökeres has been fairly isolated. I think that's maybe the first chance he's had all game. And that could be the end of the action for today, folks. Looks like Arsenal are going to win this one. Mendy, this kid never stops moving. Trossard. Mendy to Trossard. And now here come Arsenal again. And Madueke in off the post. 2-0. And it's over now. And another very unlikely scorer. Nonwe Madueke. Arsenal have got goals from unlikely sources today, but they will take it. And Newcastle United have been relatively disappointing. I think this is probably their worst result of the season. They've not looked like scoring all day. I mean, to be fair, they have come over against Gabriel and Saliba this afternoon, so it was always going to be difficult. But for once, Newcastle United actually concede from ground play. The most unlikely man, Madueke, to score. And Arsenal playing like title contenders in the end. It took a while, but Arsenal finally found a way through that dreaded corner kind of situation when Zubamendi's headed them ahead, and then Madueke got a goal in extra time. Newcastle did not look like scoring at all. They just could not deal with Gabriel and Saliba. No surprises there. But Arsenal were without Eze today, and Gyökeres couldn't get on the score sheet. But if there's one thing that Arteta is good at, it's getting goals from unlikely sources. They didn't need them today. Newcastle lose by 2-0. So let's take a look at all the scores for this weekend and what that means for the table. Brighton held on to win against Chelsea in the end. But I guess the bad news for Arsenal in that instance is that Manchester City did actually win 2-1. So they're still being relentlessly chased. But the win will go a long way. Everton finally win at the Hill Dickinson Stadium for the first time, beating West Ham by 1-0. That's the same scoreline for Spurs against Wolves. Palace beat Liverpool by 2-1 as they just continue to sink for some reason. Leeds United losing to Bournemouth, Villa beating Fulham, and finally Ruben Almiron gets a win on the board and wins 3-2 against Brentford. And it's been a bit of a time coming. H. Postecoglou is doing wonders at Forest now. He wins by 2-1 against Sunderland. So this is what that means for the table. A 2-point lead has opened up between Arsenal and, would you believe it, AFC Bournemouth in second place. Where did they come from? Manchester City on equal points but behind on goal difference. Spurs now up into fourth after Thomas Frank. It's starting to click now for Thomas Frank, isn't it? I suppose that guy is regretting a little bit, calling it a TalkSport, telling Frank to be sacked before the season even started. Villa fifth, Palace fifth rather, followed by Villa. Chelsea down to seventh somehow. Newcastle now dropped to eighth, and that has really hurt them. Postecoglou is doing wonders at Forest now. He's up to ninth. Fulham 10th, Everton 11th, getting some breathing room after their finally their first home win of the season. Leeds United 12th, followed by Brighton. It's Burnley, West Ham, Liverpool. What has happened? Down in 16th place, Brentford 17th, but somehow Manchester United's season is still even worse than Liverpool's, still in the relegation zone despite the win. They've got Sunderland next, who are 19th, and Wolves, after 6, are still on no points whatsoever. Something is going very badly wrong at Molineux.